So this perception of the heart. When I take people in groups to connect to beings in nature, through really simple practices, deep practices, but really simple practices, such as I mentioned in other videos, what happens in many cases is that through opening this perception of the heart and of the body, many people experience through simple relationship an opening into harmony, or an opening into peace, and a peace that is present really in the relationship of all beings in nature. And this comes with a lot of simplicity. It's often very surprising for people. And I've mentioned before that simplicity really is underrated. People look for really, especially beginners, they look for really secret or esoteric practices, or so-called secret. You know, how can I manipulate my center and do all these kind of apparently really mysterious practices. So when we connect through offering, we connect through entering the perception of the body, the whole body, entering the perception of the heart, and open this really to the beings in nature, and they respond. Many people are really surprised of the intimacy that is developed, and what happens, that opens joy, that opens peace, that opens relationship, and this is healing for us. Maybe it also takes us into quietness, it takes us into the simplicity of finding peace, even if we're really agitated or our everyday life is kind of chaotic. Accessing this just relationship is in many cases just simply miraculous, but it's really simple and it's really underrated. Now the other aspect of this is when you open yourself to feeling the world, what happens also is there is a point where you actually feel also the suffering in the world. It might be the suffering of certain places in nature. You are just walking and suddenly you enter into a place that is really suffering through some really unconscious and sometimes predatory really relationship of man towards its environment, and suddenly you enter into a place that is painful. And for people, this, even advanced people, this is sometimes really difficult. They want a beautiful perception, but it's difficult to really keep staying open to the painful or suffering perception. Really, this is an aspect of the heart again. The really perception of, for example, the third eye is not really empathic. In that sense, it's also, in many cases, preserving you from something. The heart is really engaged with things, but this is also the most holistic perception, really. As a human being, if you stay open to this painful aspect, you will start also, or when it emerges really, you'll start healing yourself. You will start opening doors into yourself. So you're not really choosing here, you're really giving yourself to the relationship, and you're embracing what is there. Embracing it is really staying present with it, not judging that this is a more painful experience of nature. This is what is there, and it's a key thing really. Staying open with this. This will take you deeper within yourself, but it will also take you deeper into perception, if that is what you really, what is initially you were looking for. It will take you deeper in perception, but it will also make your perception a balanced one, a compassionate one, that applies to yourself. When you are working also with plants, for example, trees, rocks, through this perception of the heart, you will perceive them in those different states, but you will also be led to perceive both the joy within yourself and the essence and the quietness and the relationship and connectedness to the living world and to the cosmos, really. But you will also be led to places within yourself that are separated, rejected and suffering. The plants, trees, animals, stars, rivers will show you that through the perception of the heart. If you are able to stay with this, and that is really the gift of the perception of the heart, it will indicate to you if you are disconnected. It will invite you to stay connected. If you stay connected in that perception of the heart, whether through ritual, whether through this simple animistic practice, then you will start healing psychological, emotional, spiritual aspects of yourself. This is really, really, I think, the gift of the perception of the heart, and really the hidden so-called secret of the perception of the heart. It's so simple that most people will look for something more esoteric, more shamanic, so-called. There's a place for that. It's very important to be able to go in trance, very important to access all kinds of modes of perception, certainly. Eventually they all lead you towards the heart. So in some cases you might as well work with the heart, I think. Of course, as I mentioned, I'm not rejecting the place of really less progressive, more radical. They are important on the path. Modes of perception, they are important on the path. Now, as a beginner and as an advanced person, I think it's important not to underrate perception of the heart, because it all leads to there eventually, in my perception. I wish you a very good practice, and I hope this is helpful. Blessings.